Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call to order the Burke County Board of Commissioners regular meeting for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. I'd like to welcome everybody. Looks like we have a big crowd here tonight, which is always fun. I would remind everyone, please silence your electronic devices because we sometimes forget to do so ourselves. So please do that. And I see Madam Clerk has already activated the microphone, but I would please remind anybody coming to the podium to speak tonight to please make sure the red light is on so our YouTube listeners can hear what you have to say. So that being said, I see our minister did show just in the nick of time. So what I would ask is Minister Jeff Lovett from the Morgan Church of Christ, he will lead us in our invocation. Then afterwards, I would ask you to please remain standing as our county attorney, Mr. Simpson, leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody please stand. Mr. Lovett.
I apologize for coming at the last minute. I had a Bible study this afternoon with a guy on Bible plan of salvation. It was just going so good, I had a hard time getting away from it. Is that okay? All right. Yes. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so very much for the opportunity to be here. And I thank you that our Board of Commissioners and those who are here think enough that they want your blessing on their meeting. There are always, in terms of civic duty and responsibility, things that call for important decisions. And they want you, Father, to give them the wisdom to present their needs in terms of those who have come, and also to decide those needs in terms of those who sit on the board. And I thank you, Father, that they are concerned that much about your blessing. And for that reason, Father, I ask your blessing upon this meeting. We pray, Father, that in all of our conduct, you'll help us to be gracious and forgiving and patient, and exhibit that love that Christ has shown us. In his name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would ask, please let's have a moment of silence. Gentleman that worked for EMS, Burke County EMS, he was the first to retire from EMS after 30 years of dedicated work. He was a volunteer at Salem Fire Department for 50 years, great man in the community, and he did pass this week. So if we could please have a moment of silence for Mr. John Stroop and his family. Thank you. Madam Clerk, I do want to clarify that all 5 commissioners are in attendance, and our Don County Finance Officer, our County Attorney, and our County Manager are here as well. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And at this time, gentlemen, we've had the opportunity to review the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as provided?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Abley. All those in acceptance signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. We do not have any need for approval of minutes, so we can move on to presentations. We do have several presentations tonight, and I have a feeling I know why there are a lot of people here, because it's the first presentation. So the first presentation will be for the Order of the Longleaf Pine Award to be presented to Bill Allman. This is going to be presented by our North Carolina Representative, Hugh Blackwell. Hugh?
One of the great privileges of being your representative in Raleigh is getting to do events like this where we recognize people who make Burke County the wonderful place it is for us to live and to raise our children and our grandchildren. And every day, if you read the paper, it seems like more and more people are recognizing that. We hope they're coming to spend their tourist dollars, but I want to say also that I get the chance fairly often to help someone who is recommended to receive the Order of the Longleaf Pine. That usually involves getting letters of recommendations, biographies, learning about what they've done in order to justify the award. I'm confident I've never seen a list that measures up to what Bill Allman has. And I want to take just a few minutes to review what his 4 letters of recommendation pointed out about him. I've known Bill for many years and known about a lot of his involvement, but if you read all these letters, you find out even more. Scott Mulway, chairman of the board, pointed out that Bill, among other things, served us when he served in the United States Army. He came back and he was active in coaching the local baseball teams here in Morganton for many years. He did a good job at that, and I think became the person in charge of those baseball teams. He served as the Burke County Board of Health member and was chairman for 18 years. He has served as a trustee at Western Piedmont Community College for 12 years, and one of those years served as chairman. All of those things are just in that one letter. Then we've got a letter that the mayor wrote, Ronnie Thompson, who's with us here. He pointed out not only that Bill was involved in the coaching of Little League and that his work with the sports programs over many years caused him to recently be inducted into the Burke County Athletic Hall of Fame just last year. In 1963, to get an early start, Bill was chosen as Morganton's Young Man of the Year. Later, in 1999, he made it to, I guess we could say, the Old Man of the Year. You were voted the Morganton Man of the Year then, or Distinguished Person, I think we call it now. He also served on the Community Appearance Board, the Main Street Advisory Board, the Recreation Advisory Board for the city, worked with the Morganton Redevelopment Commission, involved in revitalization of downtown, where the city hall is now located, served as a leader on the Mayor's Citizen Advisory Group, working on bond committees to gain community support for city projects. He was instrumental in getting the Ben Long fresco painted on the ceiling of Comma going back to 2004. And the fresco there is one of 9 that form a part of the Benjamin F. Long IV Fresco Trail in the western part of North Carolina. If you go a little bit further, we can look at the letter that was written on behalf of him by Rich DeAugustinus, who's with us here tonight. And Rich points out that to start even earlier than Young Man of the Year, Bill was senior class president at Morganton High School. He was a person who was closely associated with the development of a local nonprofit, Burke Charitable Properties, Bill was one of the founders of that nonprofit whose mission has been to provide affordable rent to other nonprofits who serve community clients. He was one of the principals who raised over $1 million 20 years ago to purchase the old Ingalls grocery store and transform it into Burke Mission Statement, which is a one-stop shop for many of those in the community who have needs that the various nonprofits there work with. Those include Habitat for Humanity, Red Cross, Foothills Service Project, the Good Samaritan Clinic, Alpha, Burke United Christian Ministries, which runs a soup kitchen there. He was the founding father, chairman, and board member emeritus for Burke Charitable Properties, which owns and manages Burke Mission Statement. And finally, because Bill, we can't just stay here all night talking about you, David Smith, who's been a longtime friend and associate with Bill in various things, points out that they've served together on church committees, which, in his spare time, and Habitat for Humanity, Smart Start, and again, Burke Charitable Properties. One of the things some of you will be interested that David commented is that although Bill was a Lenore Ryan graduate, he is a true dyed-in-the-wool Carolina Tar Heel. So that apparently is a qualifier. I'm pleased on behalf of the governor to present this award to you, Bill, but before that, Mr. Chairman, if you would like to recognize, or you take a minute yourself, or Rich, Ronnie, or David, if they want to say a couple of words in addition about Bill, I'm happy for them to do that at this point with your permission.
Please, sir. Rich, Ronnie, David, one of you.
Thank you. I moved to Morganton, Burke County 29 years ago, and I heard of Bill almost immediately. I'm sure it was a call from him and Otto Warner asking for money. That happened more than one occasion, I might add, for a good nonprofit, for a good reason, for a good cause. He and other community leaders inspired me, and I'm sure countless others, to become active in civic affairs and community affairs, nonprofits, and civic engagement. Among them for me were economic development, United Way, Chamber of Commerce, and Burke Charitable Properties, which has been mentioned. Bill was a founding member and is currently a board member emeritus. Through his lifetime in Burke County, he has demonstrated a commitment to giving back to his community, exhibiting a dedication and passion for community service and engagement, whether through his military service, sports, church, on and on. Bill, who technically may or may not be part of what has become known as the greatest generation, certainly has modeled the virtues and qualities exemplified by that generation, particularly civic duty and responsibility, something that we just don't see that much of. We can certainly use a lot more of that in today's world. I'm honored to have known Bill Allman all these years and to be counted among his friends and admirers and be one of his nominators. Bill, congratulations.
Bill, as mayor of Morganton, Morganton would not be the same without you, but the stuff you've done both professionally, academically, athletically, and just the downtown is a much better place because of your involvement. The stuff you've done at the community college has been a welcome to students and adults in this county. So from the city council and from the mayor, we just appreciate all the efforts you've done, and thank you so much for what you brought to Morganton.
Bill, you're in trouble, buddy. It's my privilege to talk about Bill a little bit, okay? And there's no reason for me to go back through all the things he's done. Actually, I tried to tell this story one time before, at the city of Morganton, and I went up and turned the water over and lost my place. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you what I was gonna say, and basically it goes like this. Bill went to see the Pope, went to Rome. Now, why he would go do that, I do not know. Okay, because we know that Bill is a Methodist, right? But he goes to see the Pope. So he goes in, and him and the Pope come out on the balcony out there. And there's this big crowd out there. And the guy goes, "Who are those two people up there?" And this one person says, "Well, I don't know who that one person is, but the guy with that pointy little hat, I don't know who he is, but that other guy's Bill Long." So, I would go eat with Bill, and, it would be like just an unbelievable number of people. "Hey, Bill, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?" It enhanced my reputation just being with him. Okay? I've known Bill for about over 25 years. Okay? And one of the things I would say about him is that he takes care of his family. Okay? And that's for sure. And you got to start there. And he served on all these committees. There's a lot of them. I'm not going to go back through and enumerate any of those. The words I would use to describe Bill is honesty and integrity, okay? His word is his bond. If he tells you he will do something, you can take it to the bank, okay? And that's just been his mantra, I believe, in the way he's lived his life. I know for a fact that Bill grew up just as a poor country boy, okay? And pretty much what he told me one time was that his prayer was that if the Lord would just give him a chance, that he would not waste that opportunity. And I think that Bill did not waste his chance, and he's taken advantage of all the opportunities. So how would I sum up Bill's lifetime of work and support in the community and the state? I've thought about that a lot. And so I decided that the best thing to do would just be to apply biblical principles, okay? And there's only two. When you get right down to it, there's only two. One is love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and body, and Bill does that. The other one is, and this is what all these committees and stuff like that he served on, is love your neighbor as yourself, okay? I don't know of anybody that Bill would not help. If he ran into somebody that needed help, he would help them. And that's what the Bible requires. So when you look at Bill's life work of volunteerism, he has consistently worked to help his fellow man in whatever way that he could, serving on various committees, specifically working to help people less fortunate than himself, working on housing issues, food distribution for people in need, and educating young children. He was on Smart Start board. He is still willing to help others in need, helping them get through difficult times. They talked about the Little League teams that he coached. The thing that always struck me is that Bill said, they would practice, okay, and then they would go out into the outfield, and they would sit down and he would talk to them, okay? Well, what would he talk about? He would talk about life. He would talk about how to do the right thing, how to be a man, and how to take care of things. And I know that there's many people that have played on those baseball teams, and I understand they were pretty good. I heard you were pretty good coach. And so, but the life lessons that he taught them and shared with them it's sort of like the theory about where you plant a seed, but once it grows a lot more fruit. Well, that's exactly what Bill has produced, is a lot of fruit. And young people who played for him and stuff like that, they would come back and respond how good that was and how much that meant to them. So I've always thought that was really special. Bill is my friend. Over the years, we've prayed together, broke bread together, served on various committees together. I have seen him up close and personal in many different environments. He truly has the heart of a servant. You don't run into that often in this day and time, I can tell you that. and throughout his life, he has helped others in need in whatever way that he could. This award, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, is designed specifically to recognize individuals like Bill for their lifetime of service to the community. And my congratulations to Bill. This honor is well deserved. So it's nice to know you. And I appreciate it.
And I'll just sum up. I can't really follow all the great things that you heard about Bill tonight. I was lucky to serve as a trustee at the college, community college, with Mr. Allman, and I look to him as a mentor, as do many in this room. And I'm just proud to know him. He's led an exemplary life and been a dedicated public servant. And I just will say, on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we're honored to see you presented with this tonight. I will tell you the hardest thing for me when I was asked to make the nomination for you is they told me to keep it to one page. That wasn't easy. So thank you and congratulations.
Bill, on behalf of the governor and the state of North Carolina, it's my privilege to present you with this evidence of your selection to receive the Order of the Longleaf Pine.
And pick, Mr. Allman?
You stand this a second. You stand very long.
You want the mic?
Yes, grabbing that microphone.
That's your fan club.
It was a surprise. I wasn't expecting anybody but me and my friend here from Bracebridge and his lovely wife. Here's the man that carries me where I go and takes me where I need to go. But what a blessing it is to be here tonight and see all these faces that I have. A lot I have not seen for a long time. But I honestly can't thank all of you enough for being my friend when I need a friend. And look at my friend sitting there. Thank you, Mother. But I do thank everybody for coming tonight. I'm surprised so many would take time to come out to see an old man like me. But it is still fun to be in heaven, wanting to be in heaven. So that's where my goal in life will be. Thank you, my friend, right here.
Thank you, Representative Blackwolf. Okay. This time we'll move on to item number 2 under presentations, Pet of the Month. This will be presented by Caitlin Suttermeyer, our Animal Services Director.
I don't know about all this. Oh. This is Logan. Good job. You can be brave. All right. Can everybody hear me? Is this okay?
Yes, that's
Let's
fine.
stand here.
I believe we can hear you.
Come on. You're okay, man. So.
You can get the phone.
You got it? He's gonna
That
wanna
dog
back
may
up
be a
and
little
visit.
bit worried about who he's following. That's hard to beat.
So, we are going to be presenting our pets of the month. We did bring Mr. Logan up today. He is our dog of the month. Sorry, I'm out of breath. He's a big dog to carry up here. So, Logan is actually a very, very great dog. He's a country dog, so he's a little nervous around a bunch of people and being in the big city down here. So, but he loves playing in creeks, loves going for walks, loves car rides. He is dog friendly. So this sweet boy is looking for a forever home. He is a good boy. He has a lot of love to offer. He was a participant in our Dog's Day Out program, so people would come in and check him out. I know, you're ready to go, aren't you? So this sweet boy is available for adoption, and he will make somebody a wonderful pet. He just needs a little bit of patience, a little bit of confidence building. So, but he is sure to make someone a wonderful pet. He's like, oh no, the ceiling's even weird. And so that's Logan. He's our dog of the month. This is Miss Cassie. She is our cat of the month, and she is absolutely beautiful. She is a tortoiseshell. She's about a year old. Super loving. She did come to us as a little kitten. So she has been in a foster for quite a while, growing up. She's been around dogs, other cats. She's wonderful. She is spayed and ready to go. So if you guys are looking to add a kitty cat to your family, Miss Cassie would be absolutely wonderful. She is, like I said, good with cats, dogs, doesn't seem to mind children. She's been around it all. So we do have a few announcements. I do want to highlight, since warm weather is here, our Dog's Day Out program. This has been up and going. We had a lot of participants over the weekend, so if you and your family are looking for something fun to do, you can come down, check out a shelter dog for the day. We've had dogs, go through Starbucks, get pup cups, go on walks, go to restaurants, or just go home to your house and watch a movie, and then you can bring them back at the end of the day. So no long-term commitment, but you guys get to exercise our dogs for us and learn a lot about them. It's a lot of fun for everybody down there. So that's our Dogs Day Out program. We operate it anytime that we're open. We just ask that our dogs are back about 30 minutes prior to closing so we can get them ready for bed. And then our next announcement we do, with the warmer weather, we have a bunch of events coming up. So April 30th is National Adopt a Shelter Pet Day. So we're going to have discounted adoption fees down at the shelter with food. There's also going to be some games, lots of fun to be had down there. So if you and your family are looking for something to do, we're going to be at the shelter all day. Our event's going to be from 12 to 4 that day. Logan may still be there if he's not scooped up by somebody this evening. I know we have some people that are in love with him. So come down and see us, and we will also be at an event at the Carolina Chiropractics. They are hosting a community day, and so we're going to have some pet adoptions down there on May 7th. So that's the following weekend after that. So lots of fun to be had, lots of stuff going on at Animal Services. So if you guys haven't been down, come down, check us out, meet with Logan. I promise he's really cool. Whenever you get him out at the shelter, he's cool now, but he's just a little nervous. If you want any more information on adopting or fostering, you can contact us. There's our phone number, our email address, and our address. You guys can stop down, even if it's just to say hi. We'd love for you guys to come on down. And that is all I have for the day.
Great presentation. Gentlemen, questions, comments?
How many dogs do we have to choose from and cats?
We have a lot of dogs to choose from. Surprisingly, we don't have a lot of cats right now, whatever that's about. We have about 25 to 30 dogs in our facility right now. Of course, that changes day to day. I could get 30 puppies in tomorrow. You never know. And we have about 15 cats in our care right now. So, but that can change at the drop of a hat as well.
That dog does walk, though, correct?
He does walk. You don't have to carry him everywhere. He's kind of a shadow puppy.
Just double checking.
Yeah.
Looks like it has a lot of energy, but
Yeah.
just want to double check. Gentlemen, any other questions, comments? All right, please adopt or foster animals, and please spay or neuter, and spay and neuter your animals as well. So, Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you. Come on, Logan, you ready to leave? Because I now want to sit.
All right, gentlemen, we'll move on to item number 3 under presentations. This one is Lake James Litter Cleanup Report, but this will be presented by Howard Morgan from Lake James Area Wildlife and Nature Society. Mr. Morgan, how are you today?
Doing well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, for inviting me to basically thank all these folks for making this possible. But I'm one of the board of directors of the Lake James Area Wildlife and Nature Society. This was formed back in 2011. A group of us got together and contacted the North Carolina Wildlife Federation, who sponsor us, and through the community efforts, we signed up 50 people in the beginning. And so it's kind of took off from there. Some people leave and you sign up new members along the way, but that's not what does the cleanup. We just kind of organize it through this organization. We're a 501c3 organization, so we basically operate on grants that we receive, that we apply for, community involvement, donations, family foundation grants, Duke Energy. If you're familiar with the Habitat Enhancement Fund with Duke, we get money from that on several projects that I'll mention. Several things that we've done since our beginning in 2011. First thing we did was we built a boat. We had a pontoon boat donated by a member, and it was in bad shape. So we rebuilt it completely, tore it down. The front of it is nothing on it. It's used as a barge, basically. The motor run part of the time. So the last 3 years ago, we kept that thing going, and we finally got a grant to buy a new motor. It stopped on us during the cleanup, so we said this is the end of that. So we did get a grant and replace that motor, and so that's helped a lot. And this past year, people don't like to, this is some things you found on the lake. This was this past year. Basically, you find a little bit of everything. I've been wanting to start a Facebook page, things found on Lake James. It'll surprise you. This was an old boat dock parts that was hauled in, that was washed up on the shore. We find a lot of floats, commodes. I don't know what it is with ceramic commodes. Can they not get rid of them at the dump? We find them on the roads, but anyway, we find those. And tires, so we've about got a handle on the tires. Thank you. I got to thank you guys for your waiver. It's by giving us that waiver, this would never be possible. And I'll thank some more later, but that's a big help, because you can see we got 3.5 tons this past year, which was probably one of the least amount, and not being able to do it because of COVID for a couple of years. But I'll tell you why that's come about as well. But one of the projects that we did was Adopt an Island program, which has really helped with keeping some of the garbage off the islands. What we did was, through our North Carolina Wildlife Federation, you get a plaque if you want to adopt an island. So we got civic organizations, individuals that adopt an island. They keep them clean twice a year. And one really good organization I'll mention that I don't have anything to do with, but the Facebook group on Big Goat Island. They really take care of that. They really help. That has been a mess over the years, but since it's been adopted, the island's been adopted, and the other islands, so it's helped a great deal with the cleanup efforts. And then talking about the pontoon, we got a second pontoon this year. People don't like to use their pontoon to put trash in. So we were able to get another grant and bought a used pontoon with a decent motor on it to haul students with. And people take them out, and we set them out on the islands. They clean up, bag the trash. We take our old work pontoon and go around, pick it up, and take it to the landing. When we first began, this cleanup started with just a small group of people in several developments. And since the Wildlife Chapter and Lake James State Park, along with their help, and we have to go along with their timeline too, and we do it in March because lake levels are down. You can get back on the beaches, and we've also started cleaning up the roads. Is a big undertaking we've started 5 years ago. from Bridgewater all the way to Benfield Landing. That's the worst part of the whole lake. And it's the main right away to the state park and Fontaflora Trail and whatever, the boat landings. And so from there all the way to, on Benfield Landing to 126 and all the way around 126. This past year we had over 153 volunteers. A lot of students, we had 50-some students this year from area schools as far away as Boone, Rutherford, Burt, McDowell. These students get community service letters when they come and participate. That's one of the reasons they come, and they're a lot of help with that cleanup. Some of the other projects we've done, let me run through real quick, is we done the wood duck boxes around Lake James State Park. You see the osprey nests on the lake. We got a grant to install those a few years ago, and they're working. We've got them osprey nesting. We've developed a recycle program, fishing line at the area boat docks. They put the line in this container. We get it and they recycle it. It's not as good as a project I hoped it would be. People, some use it, some don't. One of our big projects we're proud of, too, other than the cleanup, is we got a grant to install fish habitat through this Duke Habitat Fund. We were able to buy 400 habitat they call porcupines. If you see on the lake, if you see the small buoys with the fish hook on them, there's 20 of those under each one of them. The grant bought the habitat. We put them together. The wildlife put out the buoys at Duke specifications. So that was a big project. Put 400 on Burt, 300 on McDowell, and they're working. They do work. But the most important thing that we have done is the biggest cleanup was in 2011 when the lake was down about 15 feet. It was, we got over 5.5 tons of metal, boat dock parts, 153 tires. They use these tires to make fish habitat over the years. They put 3 together and they fall apart. But anyway, we were able to dig those out and some along the highway as well. But let me thank a couple people or some organizations that's really helped us, and I'll line this up. First of all, Lake James Environmental Association, they help us. We do ours in March. McDowell does theirs in May. We go help them in May. Mimosa Boat Landing, they let us put a dumpster there, and Corbin Hightower used his front end loader to offload stuff that come down Linville side. The Lake James State Park, they use their front end loader, and we would take trash there. That's where most of this stuff went. Duke Energy, area schools, Republic Services, the dumpsters, they give them to us free of charge. They deliver them, pick them up. It would not be possible without them as well. So with that, thank you, and hope to see you next March or this coming May in McDowell. Thank you very much for your support over the years. Any questions?
Any questions, comments?
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman. 70-some years ago, I fell in love with a lady up there. Her name was Lake James. And Howard and I have known each other for a pretty good while, and we both have the same desire to keep this lady as clean as we can keep her. We've been blessed by God to have this amenity given to us, and no more personified than the pictures that Judge Bob Hodges sends out on Facebook of what he sees every morning when he wakes up on that lake, and we see God's handiwork there. And we've been able to share this not only with our folks here in Burke County, but other counties, and that they have come in, and we're extremely proud. I remember that I started camping with my family, with my children. We camped right around from where Howard lives, and then we moved on up to my grandchildren, and now my great-grandchildren, and Wayne and I get to go to a camping arena up there that we have on the lake and enjoy the most pristine waters that there ever was. Nothing prettier than out on a jet ski at 7:30 at nighttime riding on Lake James and see light just sparkle off of the lake.
Makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it?
Makes it all worthwhile. But what I've done is pales in comparison to what my friend has done here. Howard Morgan deserves every award that we could probably think of for his efforts to keep that lake what it should be and what it ought to be. We have a duty as commissioners, and this board has done that, to keep that water clean, keep it pure, just like we should be ourselves, clean and pure, and take care of what God has given us. Howard, I personally want to thank you for what you've done, and all the gentlemen that are here with you tonight and what they've done over the years. And hopefully we can continue to keep that lake like it should
Absolutely.
be.
Thank you.
Hold on one second. Howard, hold on one second before you sit down, please. Well said. Well said, Vice Chair Carswell. Any other questions, comments? Well, I think Madam Clerk has a little surprise. Is there any other volunteers here with you tonight?
Got a few. Stand up.
Could they please come forward?
Rich, you have too. Come on. Come on. A lot of folks are on vacation, but, and send out emails, but it's hard to get people here, you know.
So on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we'd like to present you with a Fauna Flora Trail walking stick
Wow. Thank you.
for your tireless service.
It's good for snakes.
It is good for snakes. There's no guarantee, there's no warranty.
What we're gonna do is put a spike on the end to get that track.
That would be perfect. We'll think about that next time, a little nail. Would you like to take a picture? Commissioners, would you like to come down? Please, gentlemen, come forward.
All right, everybody say cheese.
Everybody's pretty late.
I got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thanks again, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Okay, gentlemen, that is the end of our presentations. So we'll move on to item number 7 on our agenda, scheduled public hearings. This involves community development, zoning map amendment ZMA 2022-02. We will have a public hearing. This will be presented by Alan Glines, our Deputy County Manager and Planning Director. So, Alan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Mulvey, Commission members, members of the public. Burke County has received a rezoning application from Mr. Brian Arrowwood and Mr. Scott Blake of Breckenridge Homes to rezone 2 parcels of land totaling a little over 12 acres. The property currently is zoned rural mixed use, and they would request that it be rezoned to residential 2, R2. The property is located at 4962 Denton's Chapel Road in Morganton. It's in the Silver Creek Township, Brendletown Fire District. And they have a creek at the back of the site. Clear Creek is at the rear of the property. Denton's Chapel Road is a state-maintained road, 2-lane, 45 miles an hour. These 2 parcels are approximately 4 miles from the Morganton jurisdictional limits. And this area has a combination of rural mixed-use zoning and R1, R2, and R3, residential 1, 2, and 3. I have a few slides to share with you. This is an existing land use map for this area. The 2 parcels are noted here. in red. I'm going to try to point that out. Thank you. Right here. This is Denton's Chapel Road is running, north to south on this map, and these two parcels total about 12 acres. Clear Creek is at the rear of the site. With the existing land use map, it's not zoning, it's just how it's developed today. So vacant, the white parcel areas are vacant. That's vacant territory there. The yellow is single-family kind of stick-built single-family homes. This brown is it's double wides, and this area is single wide. So we have a mixture in this neighborhood. In bright red, it's a commercial use. So rural mixed use does permit some commercial activity, and there's some smaller scale activity, especially here. Now this one, in years past, it's been active. I don't know if it's active now. So that's the existing land use map. This is the aerial. It's about a 2017 map, mostly wooded in that area. But you do see a lot of, the neighborhoods to the north, single-family style kind of thing with a mix of housing types. These are the properties here. There's a small barn on the site. I guess it's this one here. And it's, wouldn't normally be utilized in that parcel. Single-family home just a little further down the street and a lot of open territory. And these subdivisions nearby are called Hickory Hill subdivision, and further north is the Pine Ridge subdivision. Okay, the future land use map. In Burke County, we use the Blueprint Burke Strategic Plan. It's our comprehensive plan. This subject parcel, still noted in red there, are located in the rural agricultural area. This designation is given to all areas of the county which are not designated as primary growth or secondary growth areas, which basically surround our towns, or I-40. This area is considered rural in nature and may allow a variety of land uses, some commercial. But the focus of the designation is to be needed housing. Note here that along Denton's Chapel Road, we have public water through Brentwood. I spoke to the Brentwood officials today, and they said that in the last year they've done a water upgrade, and they have plenty of capacity on the road. And this is the current zoning map. The area, the pale area, is the rural mixed use. This is surrounding the site right here. This is R3, residential 3. We have R2 here. R2 here, and more residential 3. There's a commercial piece a little further out on 64 there. Rural mixed use allows a wide range of residential and commercial activities, as I noted. If the parcel is rezoned to residential 2, the primary use is single-family detached or manufactured or modular homes. And the modular homes would have to be, the manufactured homes would have to be basically what we call a double wide. So it's restrictive compared to the surrounding and existing current zoning for rural mixed use. Well, I'm going to leave that map up for a minute. Considering a rezoning in this area, let's have a look at a few more photos. I'm sorry. I think we got some photos. This is the site from the road, kind of a rural nature. This is the wooded site. There's the barn building on the site. A lot of great homes in this area, beautiful older farmhouses and other type of property. Some are newer. This is nearby as well, other homes. And I'm going to back up a minute. We'll leave it at the map, I think. So in staff's opinion, the rezoning for the two parcels, residential 2, it would be a zoning to a more restrictive district. R2, as I said, mainly allows for residential development, whereas the rural mixed use, the current zoning, allows all forms of residential use plus non-residential commercial uses as well. those are reviewed by staff if they ever come in on a parcel by parcel basis. We'd have a master site plan for some kind of commercial use if it would happen. It's felt that the R2 district could enhance the overall character of the area, especially if new single-family home subdivision were to be developed as the applicant intends. The main benefit of the R2 change is a reduction in the lot size. All development regulations would still apply, including approved septic system requirements. Now, Burke County, in environmental health, we have an active review and approval of septic systems, and those folks are professionals and they know what they're doing, and they follow the state rules for all septic development. Now, we don't have a site plan today, we just have the rezoning. If the developers, if it was approved and they wanted to move forward with a subdivision, subdivisions are reviewed for all requirements with Burke County and are considered and approved by our planning board. So that's how that works, after all the conditions are met. The planning board did review this application at their February 24th meeting. There was a number of members of the public who came to speak. I think some of those folks are here. They were concerned about a variety of things. I think they can speak to themselves, but in summary, some of it was traffic, some of it was maybe some density, extra housing perhaps. So there's one person I believe was concerned that their well might be near their property line and concerned about a future septic tank being too close. So those are things that we heard during the planning board meeting. The planning board they called a vote, and the recommendation was to deny that request to R2. And that vote carried 4 to deny and 2 against that motion. That pretty much wraps up my presentation at this time, but I can answer any questions for you if you have any.
Gentlemen, you've heard the presentation like we did in pre-agenda, so you may have some more questions for Alan at this time, so I'll open the floor to questions.
Mr. Chairman, a couple in your motion to deny Alan, there's a statement there that says the surrounding area may be negatively affected by impacts from higher density subdivision development. Is there something that we can grasp there that, why do we say may instead of do?
Well, if you believe that to be the case, I believe you could strengthen that language to say it could. I mean, it's hard to say without being developed that there's any negative impact, but if you have a worry about that, that's a concern as an outcome, it may have an impact, and therefore perhaps you wouldn't be supportive of it.
On pre-agenda, your committee voted to approve the recommendation. Is that correct? situations coming up. And I don't mind saying that a lot of the things some of us call reasons are really mild or even not part of the equation in my mind. But we're getting more and more to the point that a person who owns property can't do with property what he bought the property to do with. And I remind you again, hearing, Paul Harden, back here, in 1962, spent a lengthy amount of time in his newscast about this house farmer in Iowa. He had won the state award 6 times. Somebody bought 150 acres plot of land next to his farm. They didn't like the house farm. And they put him out of business. They wanted him to have, what he
See that?
provided
It's
in their
Taylor's and the podium are both like barely picking up.
the award and documented proof that he was doing everything correct. And there were pages of these pictures and so forth on one of the more famous on the and the point of that is that
So they're alive.
I'm going to buy a house. And so they've had a business and they've had
Redo that thing up there.
for 40, 50 years.
That receiver.
And I didn't like it. Now, this situation, and that's one of the things that for me, I wanted to know what the contract said that you referred to, that he was only supposed to build 6 houses on this property. So if I'm a neighbor, I want to know why he built 20, whatever the number. But I continue to see the older ownerships, if that's the correct word, or previous ownership of the property, having their lives changed by people who build new houses around them. I don't know the solution to it, Alan. I'm just telling you one commissioner's theory and idea of why some of these things, to me, appear a little bit one-sided. And that we ought to be able to take the neighbors and we ought to be able to take the property owners and see what it would take to have, again, a happy marriage. And both of them get similarly what they want. And continue to grow our county, build houses that are needed, et cetera, et cetera. If it doesn't fit, it just doesn't fit. But at the same time, those people bought their property and they got to do with it what they want to do, and now we're dictating to somebody else that they can't. And what he wants to do, maybe he can, but that's where you play the most important part. The zoning board.
Yes, sir.
End of comment, sir.
I would say, if I could add one more thing, the rural mixed use allows a number of land uses besides residential. The R2 would not. It would really restrict it to residential. And that might be a goal of the property owners if they created their own a neighborhood in here, something with a road going in and houses along it, that they, over time, they want to keep that a residential focused area in their street. Now, the area around it, yeah, a lot of stuff can happen, sure enough, a lot of other properties. But if it was R2, they would, that neighborhood would stay a residential character. So it wouldn't, you wouldn't have that change over time and businesses coming in. So that's a part of that request.
One more quick question. When we deny this ordinance, Where does that leave the property owner? Can he go back and build 6 houses according to his previous agreement?
I'm not an expert on the agreement, okay, the deed part. I'm not an expert on that. We haven't seen a proposal for how many lots yet. We haven't seen a proposal. That's just a rezoning application at this time. I believe the notes in that a deed that you're describing, it will say 6, I think it says 6 units per lot, per parcel. So don't know how that math's gonna work and, you know, all that.
So he has land, he's gonna pay taxes on it, and nothing changes if we deny this motion, correct?
The gentleman could do any of the things that are allowed in the table of uses for rural mixed use, and it's quite a list, because it's a very broad category in Burke County, and there's a lot of territory zoned are, you know, residential mixed use now. So a lot of it has to just make good sense from a business standpoint. You wouldn't put retail on you know, Denton's Chapel because there's not enough traffic down there to support retail. You put retail on 64, but you know, there's some things that just won't work on a road like this, but there's a lot of things that possibly could. Thank you.
Gentlemen, any other questions, comments on this item? So at this point, gentlemen, we will need to take a 5-minute recess so we can restart the sound equipment. We're still having problems. Scott he's giving me the thumbs up. So at this moment, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. Call the meeting back to order. We did get the works out of the system, so hopefully everybody can be heard. And so that's what's important in public comments and public hearings, because we want to make sure your voice is heard. So I think we're good to go. So sorry about the malfunction. So at this time, the commissioners have had the ability to ask questions to Alan. So I will now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here present that wishes to speak to this issue? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, I have 4 cards. The first one is Shelby Kennerly.
Hi, I'm Shelby Kennerly. I live at 2929 Windy Hill Hollow, and that's on the top part of that flat red line. We moved out there over 30 years ago. We moved out there to get out of the town. We garden. We are concerned with that floodplain, and they didn't mention that it is a level 1 floodplain in part of that property, that we are afraid that the septics will be an issue, and our garden and our wells are very close to that line. And I'm extremely concerned that that's going to affect the way that we live our life in a rural area. The gentleman here said at the last meeting, the developer said he was going to put 15 homes in there. 15 homes on that property, and the property kind of goes down like this. All of that, if there is a problem with the septic, it will run straight into our land. And that is a huge concern. And we moved out there to get away from that situation. We know that there's a need for housing. I don't question that. However, I do say, put the 60 back there. That's not going to be an issue. And as far as the R2 and the mixed use will make it where they have to put a house on a larger lot. R2 shrinks that lot, and they can put more houses out there. And we were told, even though once he gets R2, he could put 30 homes out there. And that is a huge concern. And so I plead with you to consider rejecting this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Miss Barbara Baumgartner.
Mainly what she said, but we also don't feel like that the property can carry that many houses. That's our main concern. And I live at across the street. There's going to be 15 houses. Most of the people that will be there is going to be like 15 to 2,000 square feet on a less than a half-acre lot. You're going to have all these septics. We got flood zone at the bottom. We've got a natural spring on that. And what's going to happen when the rain comes? It already runs off there. I'm going to be sitting down here with all those septics running in my yard, is what I'm afraid of. And we have a creek. We have cows. We have to fence our cows back so that they won't, mess the creek up. What the septic tanks are going to do. How are you going to get a septic tank? The last time we had the meeting, they said that they could put houses up on stilts, so like 2 feet above the flood level down there in the flood zone. Where are you going to put your septic tank? And on top of that, there's going to be like 30 cars, say, most homes have 2 cars. I have a driveway across the street. He's going to make one street up. He's going to put houses on either side. How in the world am I ever going to get on my driveway? And at the end of our street, at Denton's Chapel Church, there's a lot of accidents on 64 pulling out. They'll probably put up a red light. I mean, I'm serious. It's dangerous. So there's a whole lot of problems. Now, the guy owns it. I know, I've spoke to him a few times, and he's as nice as he can be. And I want him to sell his land. But we also have to take care of what we've got, of doing it. and have respect for, you know, I have respect for him, but the land, we do not feel like that will carry that many houses. And then if it is rezoned for houses, rezone, even though the developer says he's gonna build houses, he can change his mind, he can build rental properties, he can do all this stuff. The guy that builds does build apartments. And we've looked on the internet, and he's a one-star builder. And he does not have a good reputation of keeping up his apartments and things, you know. So we're looking at that for the neighborhood too. We just want to have a quiet, nice neighborhood like we got. And if he can sell his land and get, you know, I mean, what's wrong with building 6 houses or 9 houses? But it won't carry that many houses. I don't think it'll even carry 9 houses. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Steve Ledford.
Hey, fella, we've lived out here in the country for a long time. I hate to stop progress, but there gotta be a,
Sir, could you state your address, please, for the record?
huh?
State your address for the record, please.
Oh, Denton Chapel, 5040.
Thank you, sir.
This is our second time here. Nobody's told us what kind of road they're gonna put in there. I've heard you just gonna gravel the road. Well, you know how a railroad turn about. It ain't state maintained. And then by the state standards, that road's gonna go to nothing. That's 3 or 4 more roads down on the left-hand side of past is. No, that's the same way, not maintained by the state. You can't hardly go see your friends if you live over there, you fall in a hole. So if he's fixing the road for state standards, if the state can take it over, I could understand it, but not no 15 houses. That property, I've walked over it, lived out there, I own 12 acres on the other end of it. It's just not room for 12, 15 houses in there. And the water problem in the back, he's got about 3 acres in the back, close to it, 2.5 to 3 acres. It's in the flood zone. On the bottom and above it. Mine will flood all the way up, and his will flood all the way up to the wood line when it floods. And that usually happens once or twice a year. All it's good for is grass field for hay. I wouldn't even farm it, other than that, nothing but hay. I just got mine to have the peace and quiet. And pretty today, if I want to take a walk, I walk down to the creek and back, and that's all. But we want to keep the water fresh, just like you were talking about the lake a while ago. If we're going to, the whole United States needs to think about the water. If you ain't got water, you ain't got nothing. I've built water plants, I've built sewer plants. I helped build a sewer plant right here in town. And when we got through with it, when the water come out the other end, went back into the river, supposed to be able to drink it. Breeding's turned their chicken fat in there. It burnt that whole basin, everything out there. And it's never cleared up yet. So we don't want no more trash and nothing in our water. Cows has to be back 50 foot from water. Used to, they go to the creek and drain, not anymore. You gotta water them in the field. So that's the main thing we're thinking about. And you can't stop progress. You don't want to tell somebody, I had it, and I'd use common sense. It just told this many houses, this many people. And if you build a house, you gotta put in a septic tank, you gotta have room to repair that septic tank. On a half-acre lot, you build a house and put in a septic tank, you're not gonna have room to put another set of lines or nothing in a half-acre lot. Less than half acre lot, what you're asking for. And that's all that's. And I've done concrete, been around and built houses. I worked 45 years doing concrete in this county. And I've probably done some for some of your kidding folks, or maybe some of you. But we've never come up with nothing, this many houses on one little spot. You know, it's just, it's a country. Let's keep us a little bit of country and everything together. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ricky Ledford of 4891 Denton's Chapel Road.
I'm Ricky Ledford, as she said, 4891 Denton Chapel Road. I hope I can do this. I've worked all day in the wind. I'm kind of tired, but I'll do my best. But I've lived in this community for almost 50 years, and this piece of property, when we were kids, they had a sawmill there, and then after the sawmill moved out, they left a little tool shed, and we used that for a clubhouse and jumped into, played in the sawdust. So I know this property really well. So something that I think you've been kind of misleaded on, I want to go to this to show you. What they're talking about is using basically half-acre lots to build houses on. And a septic tank for a 3-bedroom home, which he says he's building, takes 3 75-foot lines and a repair area. So the whole backyard of these houses is going to be septic tank. He's speaking of putting a road right through here with houses on each side. Well, we haven't seen a survey of how this lots would be cut out. We don't even know that would work. You take out the road and then these lots. This area here, like the other people have said, is flood zone. This land right here, where it goes to the flood zone, it's almost straight off. It'll wind you to walk over it. Going this way is falling off. A lot, not just a little bit. Falling this way is falling off. These people that live here, they don't have access to city water or Brentwood water. They have wells all the way down there. The road goes down to here, their properties are here. And then there's a creek here. And then across the road, where he's wanting to put the road in, this is a swag. So the water can't go back this way in the ditch or can't go back this way in the ditch. There's a pipe going across the road onto this property, which is, some of it is my sister's. And the other's Miss Probst. Her driveway goes there. The pipe is only 12 inches big. So all the water coming off here is going to hit this ditch and try to go through this 12-inch pipe. And if there's anything problem with sewer, it's going to go across there, go down this way, and there's a creek less than 100 yards on this side of the property. Not the property, but the road. There's a creek here, there's a creek here. 2 creeks. So like I said, we've not seen a survey of how the property's been cut out. We have not seen an engineered drawing by a civil engineer that says that this is even possible. So I just can't see how you could vote for this change when everybody else in the county has to have 9.1 acres to put a septic tank system. I did. Everyone else in here did. But they're wanting to put it on a ½ acre. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's all the folks that pre-registered with me.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Please come to the front.
Good evening. My name is Greg Harper. I live at 5062 Denton's Chapel Road, and I'm essentially the new neighbor on the block. I can't speak to the logistics like these other folks have, but what I can say is this. When I had the opportunity to buy the property there, I was reluctant because it's so rural. It's out in the country, and I'm used to living in big cities, New York, San Diego. But I went ahead and got it, and I've become so comfortable living there. I pour me a cup of coffee in the morning. I go sit on my porch. It's nice and quiet. No noise, nothing. If we overdevelop this area, it's going to create a tremendous amount of traffic. You drive up to 64, you can't even get on 64 from Denton's Chapel Road or from Hopewell. It takes 3, 4, 5 minutes to even get on there. Now you want to increase that traffic flow. Not only will there probably be 2 cars, they're going to have kids, their kids are going to have cars, motorcycles, whatever. Sometimes I take my daughter, we walk out the pastures behind Steve's property. We look at the cows and just look at the mountains back. It's beautiful. It's quiet. I love it. I don't want to see it change. Like I said, I can't speak to anything else, but I can speak to that. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful area. There's no reason to change it. There are other areas that they can build these huge amounts of homes. I think right over near Cathy Road, there's a huge area over there they can build on. They don't have to build there. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
My name is Katie Sigmund. I live at 2905 Windy Hill Hollow. I'm a single mother, and after my divorce, I actually bought the house where I live now because it's right beside my parents' house. And I specifically did move to that area because it is country. I didn't want my daughter to be in the city or in a large area. This is just because I wanted to raise her. We do gardening. I teach my child to garden. This is just the way I was raised and the way that I want her to learn to, how she should grow up. She climbs trees. She plays in the dirt. She is a country child. And she's happy. And I feel like putting that many houses behind us will not give me any rest, because right now she's to the point where she can go out and play by herself, and I don't worry about her. With all new people there, I'm afraid that it could potentially increase crime on our road, speeding, people increasing the travel on the road, and that could potentially be dangerous to her, to me, to anyone on that road, because we don't have that much traffic. So I was just wanted to say that. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sir.
My name is William Kennery. I live at 2929 Windy Hill Hollow. I'm not going to repeat everything everybody else has said. It just wouldn't be right. But what I do want to say is this. Mr. Elwood owns that land and he's trying to sell it. He bought that land originally for the same reason we live there. People aren't on top of us. We're out in the country. Now he wants to get rid of it, and he don't care about us. He doesn't care about us. So now he's willing to do anything he can do to sell the property. So, let your conscience be your guide. If you were in our shoes, what would you want? So I'm just going to close it with that. You've already heard all the good reasons.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? If there's no one else to speak to this issue, I'm going to close the public hearing. Gentlemen, at this time, I'll ask what the pleasure of the board is.
Mr. Chairman, hearing the comments tonight and having received a phone call as well, I think what I hear is density, the number of homes that we're talking about. I think what I'd like to suggest and move that we send this back to the planning board with the consideration that these folks consider R3, which would reduce that density to a different level, and see if that might be something that could be a compromise. I'll make that as a motion.
Gentlemen, you've heard Commissioner Britton's motion. All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Motion carried 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to item number 8, informal public comments. I would ask that each speaker that comes before us to stick with the 3-minute limit. And at this point, Madam Clerk, do we have any?
We do, Mr.
Anybody
Chairman.
from the public wanting to speak?
We do, Mr. Chairman. I would call on Miss Dina Hunt.
Good evening. My name is Dina Hunt, and I reside at 1309 Jamestown Road. I stand before you this evening because I am in favor of removing the Confederate monument located on the historic Burke County Courthouse lawn. Contrary to the story that has been told repeatedly, that monument represents an ugly history that cannot be changed, no matter how one presents it. It honors the fight that was fought for the continuation of slavery. It honors the oppression of black people, and it honors white supremacy. As a citizen of Morganton, I see it as a symbol of division and defiance. In 2015, shortly after the Charleston Church Massacre, North Carolina leaders passed a law prohibiting the removal of public Confederate monuments. It is based upon this law that you, our leaders, proclaimed that the monument downtown cannot be removed. Yet, in 2020 alone, 5 years after the passing of that law, at least 22 Confederate monuments in North Carolina were successfully removed, including 3 in our state's capital. Given this information, I believe the matter at hand is one of will not rather than cannot. You see, I cannot change the color of my skin, neither can any of you, nor can I change the identity of my birth parents. I began this evening by stating my place of residence. Even though I can relocate to another location, I will not, because I choose not to do so. Board of Commissioners, if other cities in North Carolina can successfully remove Confederate monuments despite the law, I believe we can too, if you change your position of will not to a position of will. In closing, I thank you for your time, consideration, and service.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else?
Kevin Frederick.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the privilege to speak with each of you this evening. First, I want to commend you all as Commissioners for working with our regional and state politicians to successfully bring the School of Math and Science here. Also, for promoting Burke County in the interest of businesses and industries seeking to establish operations here. I've actively served on the Valdez Economic Development Investment Corporation for 9 years with some of you. And I believe in the economic well-being of our community and all of its citizens. Several weeks ago, in the News Herald, there was a photo of the incoming students of the School of Math and Science who will be on campus this fall. They were white, African American, Latino, and Asian American students from across our great state. That photo served as a visual image of the kind of diversity and the talent that is possible when we greatly enhance our community with the best and brightest future leaders of North Carolina. It's also a vision of the highly skilled workforce that we would want to attract to our own community. On the front end of this great change to our county, I encourage you, each of you, to have private conversations with a variety of administrators, and when they arrive, with the students and their parents from the School of Math and Science. Ask the administrators to identify the individuals who have raised concerns about the monument. whereas publicly made comments by leaders might not reveal those comments or concerns, private and off-the-record comments can reflect the true relation and nature of those concerns. I know from my own inquiries that concerns have been shared by new staff, by our citizens, and by some parents of non-white students that plan to be here. The monument's presence has been perceived by many as a very divisive issue within our community. The North Carolina School of Math and Science presents a dawning of a new day in Burke County. I firmly believe that it will be open to new possibilities for corporate and industrial growth for decades to come. Within the past decade, virtually all medium and large corporations have well-defined diversity, equity, and inclusion statements, which serve as a guide in both operations and in helping corporations and industries decide where they want to locate their operations for expansion. I encourage you to ask of yourselves and our community if a symbol at the heart of our community that is divisive and based on the past is a key reflection on how we want to promote the future of our community. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
Caroline Avery.
Caroline Avery, 115 Riverside Court, Morganton. Recently, I ran into 4 people who were on the courthouse square looking at the Confederate monument. One couple was from Lithuania. They were visiting friends who live at Lake James. They asked me a few questions. Among them, why was this monument built 50 years after the end of the Civil War? Why have you waited so long to ask for it to be moved to a more appropriate location? Good questions. This monument was part of a movement which became known as the Cult of the Lost Cause. This cult had one goal, through monuments and through other means, to rewrite history, to hide the truth, which is that the Confederacy was on the wrong side of humanity. The Confederate soldiers did not fight for the United States of America. They fought against it. These monuments purposely celebrate a fictional, sanitized Confederacy, ignoring the death, the enslavement, and the terror that it actually stood for. After the Civil War, these statues were a part of that terrorism as much as a burning cross on someone's lawn. Vice President of Confederacy Alexander Stephens made it clear that the Confederate cause was about maintaining slavery and white supremacy. He said in his now famous Cornerstone speech that the Confederacy's cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery, subordination to the superior race, is his natural and normal condition. His words, not mine. That answers their first question, but the second question, why am I asking for this monument to be moved now? We see moving this monument as a first step. We as a county choose a better future for ourselves, making straight what has been crooked and making right what has been wrong. Otherwise, we will continue to pay a price with discord, division, and yes, violence. We saw that violence in June of 2020, and we will see it again if we do not take steps to unify this community. To literally put the Confederacy on a pedestal in our most prominent place of honor is an inaccurate recitation of our full past. It is an affront to our present, and it is a bad prescription for our future. We cannot wait any longer. We need to change, and we need to change now. This is not just about a monument. This is about our attitudes and behavior. If we move this monument to a more appropriate location and don't change to become a more open and inviting community, this will be in vain. While some drive by this monument every day and either revere its beauty or fail to see it at all, many of our neighbors and visitors, like the ones I saw recently, see it very clearly. Many are painfully aware of the long shadows this monument casts, and they clearly receive the message that the Confederacy and the Cult of the Lost Cause intend to deliver. The Confederacy was on the wrong side of history and humanity. It sought to tear apart our nation and subjugate our fellow Americans to slavery. This is the history that we should never forget, and one that we should never again put on a pedestal to be revered. Thank you for your service, and thank you for this privilege.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
Melissa Cornett.
I'm Wanda Burns. I'm a property owner at 4383 Homer Burns Avenue and a business owner. I'm speaking for Melissa and the other residents on Homer Burns Avenue. We have no access to public water. We're all on wells, and each and every one of us has iron in our wells. My farmhouse has a well that's 100 years old, and Melissa is using off of it, and it's going dry. And we want to know if we can get some water out on Homer Burns Avenue. I have a poultry farm at the end of the road. I have 3 wells that I've had to dig, and now my 3rd one is going bad. And we need access to public water. And every time we ask about it, we're told, you know, it costs too much money. I have a petition here where everybody signed it that lives on the road asking for water. And there's a lot of vacant land out there, room for growth. If there's water and amenities to make people want to come. And I just want to see if we can get some water put out there. Because kind of like that man a while ago said, if you don't have water, you ain't got nothing. And if this well I have now goes bad, I stand to lose 4 houses of chickens if I don't have access to water immediately. So I'm just asking that you would consider running some water for us. It's at the end of the road. Wouldn't be a half a mile that you had to run it to it. But yet it goes all the way over to Highway 18, and we can't get it a half a mile off the road. So that's all I got to say, and I hope you'll take it into consideration. This one lady, Melissa, is going to have her mobile home moved because she don't have any access to water. The land she lives on won't, you can't have a septic tank and a well on that little bit of land, and so she's going to have to move her mobile home if we don't get water. So I appreciate you listening, and I hope you'll take it into consideration that we really, really need water. I mean, everybody on the road, I can't read all their names, but everybody on Homer Burns Avenue is begging for water. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
Okay, I guess we have Miss Carla Kincaid.
Good evening. Good to see you guys again. My name is Carla Kincaid. Of course, I'm at 1276 NC Highway 126 in awesome community of Oak Hill. I stand here again this evening, proud to have the ability to stand and speak up and speak out. And I'd like to kind of say that this is about standing up and speaking out. During the time of slavery, I'm sure not everyone agreed that others should speak up against slavery or even try to escape. Many lives were being lost. Lynchings took place. Families were separated. Children were separated from parents. Dads or moms taken from families. In some cases, men killed right in front of their children. Not everyone agreed with going against the slavery system on plantations. During Jim Crow, not everyone agreed that those involved should speak up against the segregation or speak up for integration. As a matter of fact, some African Americans think maybe this was a period when some lost integrity, dignity, our community, businesses, even family morals and values, which our ancestors held on to. So they didn't agree with integration either. Even though we continue to move forward, the thriving areas of African American neighborhoods, businesses, representation, families of progressive individuals, some have disappeared, are still slowly disappearing. During the civil rights movements with Dr. Martin Luther King, along with John Lewis and others, and currently the Poor People's Movement with Al Sharpton and others of today or yesterday. Not everyone agreed for events such as these, or attended services, or attended marches to protest to support progress for our people. Not everyone in the past or presently was an NAACP member, or stood up, spoke up, and protested in Burke County on issues like the tensions between then Reverend Hunt and the director of the Recreation Center of College Street, Clinton Faust at the time, in an attempt to desegregate the College Street, which would give African Americans access to only the gymnasium. It was the West Concord mothers who repeatedly reacted to desegregate to avoid a public demonstration in an effort to prevent Morgan's progressive reputation from being shattered. The foundation decided to close the facilities entirely and sought to make it private. It took a lot for it to get integrated. It took a lot for the College Street Recreation Center to even get integrated. Lately, not everyone agreed to participate in the George Floyd Black Lives Matters events held on 181 Courthouse Square. Not all will agree that the statue needs to be relocated or come down permanently. Not every African American believes we should have Black History Month, Juneteenth celebrations, or agree with critical race theory. If you don't know your history sometimes, it repeats itself. So as a lifelong citizen and taxpayer, I continue my stance for relocation or removal of the Confederate soldier, which continues to stand at the Courthouse Square in Morganton, our county seat of Burke County. There's going to be a lot of folks that's going to say no. Everyone's not going to agree, but I have to continue to stand.
Thank you, ma'am.
Unless I missed something, that's all the folks that pre-registered with me.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, we'll move on to item number 9. That is the consent agenda. This will be presented by our county manager, Mr. Brian Steen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have a 13-item consent agenda. First, BOC proclamation declaring April 16th through the 30th, 2022 as Spring Litter Sweep. Item 2, clerk appointments to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Item 3, clerk removal from nursing home / adult care CAC. Item 4, county manager proclamation declaring May 5th, 2022 as National Day of Prayer. Item 5, county manager termination of development agreement with Glamping Lake James LLC. Item 6, community development, accept the Jumping Run Trail easement. Item 7, general services, acceptance of recycling grant to improve efficiency, East Burke Convenience Site. Item 8, health, 2021 State of the County Health Report. Item 9, Partners Health Management proclamation declaring May as Mental Health. Item 10, Tax Department Tax Collection Report for March 2022. Item 11, Tax Department Release Refund Report for March 2022. Item 12, Tax Department Order to Advertise 2021 Delinquent Real Property Taxes. And item 13, Western Piedmont Community College Capital Improvement Project Approval / Regional Emergency Services Training Centers. That concludes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Steen. Gentlemen, you've heard the consent agenda. We have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve all 13 items as rendered.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. All those in favor signify with the uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0. We'll move on to item number 10, items for decision. This is funding for roof replacement and repair of interior water damage. This will be presented by Mr. Mark Delahunt, our General Services Director. Hey, Mark.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Burke County has a building in Hillbrand with about 4 different suites. One of them houses our water sewer office. Another smaller space has some county documents being stored in it. This leaves 2 vacant. Someone last week approached us about renting one of the spaces. While showing her around, we discovered some water damage. It was in a place where we had already done some patching previously. Although funds to replace this roof are in my upcoming budget request, I approached the county manager about having it done prior to renting it out, and I'm before you tonight asking for some direction.
Gentlemen, for the presentation. Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I had a couple of questions. Any additional quotes? I noticed in your presentation material that you had one. Did you get additional quotes?
I will get additional quotes if the funding becomes available. It's very hard to get quotes on anything these days, many of you probably are aware. And I thought I'd take this step before having other roofers out there and trying to get additional quotes.
How old is the present roof on there? You know how long it's been?
No, I do not know.
I am assuming that the old roof, all of it will be removed and all will be new when replaced?
That is the way the quote reads, I understand.
Pardon?
Yes, that is the way the quote reads.
Any idea how long the new roof will last?
Typically a roof, if done properly, 15 years, I'm guessing 15 to 20. This one's probably well beyond that, I assume. And that's at a minimum. I'm not an expert on that, but I believe the roofing material gives you like a 30-year guarantee on the material.
I'm pretty sure that's been on there at least 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mark, the only question I've got is, were we not doing routine maintenance checks on the building? How did we just all of a sudden have I know you'd been there before and had some problems. When did this occur? Do we know bad weather?
Probably most recent heavy rain. The water sewer office occupies one far end of it. This is in the building portion of the building next to it that we probably don't get into as much as we maybe should as far as surveying it too, but it was discovered when we were showing this lady around, and there's been a previous leak in that same location.
Mr. Chairman, my question to the county manager.
Yes, sir.
Mr. County Manager, it appears that we may have to stay in that building for a period of time. Is that true until we see further down the road on other properties that we have purchased?
Yes, I mean, we're probably looking at the water sewer department staying there for maybe 24 months before we can build a new office there at the property we purchased for the East Burke convenience site. So it's, trying not to let it get any worse than it already is, and then the building can be rented, or when we leave there, we may be able to sell the building. I won't be here at that point in time, but it's not going to get any better if we don't address this roofing problem.
So 24 months at a minimum that we would have to remain in the building until something else could be done?
That's my estimate, unless the board comes back as we develop the budget for July 1, says no, build a new one now. And that would change the time frame, but still, I would think it's got to be at least 12 to 18 months. It can't be any quicker than that.
And as I recall, when we bought the building, when we put the temporary library in there at that time, we made the decision that we'd either rent it to somebody when we got out of it, sell it to somebody when we decided to get out of it, but it was open for discussion as to what to do with the building when we decided to move into something new when we did that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments Mark? Just one from aside, you may not know off the top of your head, know why I should have asked this before, but, we know what the tax value of that building is?
I don't know right off the bat, no, sir, I'm sorry.
Do we remember how much we gave for that building?
Well, the building was a part of the property, the acreage where we actually sited the new library senior center. So I don't know.
It's hard to parse that, okay. Gentlemen, any other questions or comments? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to appropriate $90,000 for roof replacement and repair of water damage for the county building located at 302 Center Street in Hildebrand from general fund balance.
Thank you, Commissioner Britton. All those in favor of the motion signify with uplifted hand. Madam Clerk, that is 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. All right, we'll move on to item number 11, reports and comments. We'll start down there with our finance officer, Margaret Pierce.
Just want to keep the Street family in our thoughts, as you mentioned earlier, thinking about them this evening. And that's all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the last meeting of Commissioners on March 15, 2022, I have worked assisting Animal Services in approving an extended stay liability release for the county. I've researched the issue of under what circumstances volunteers are covered under the county's workers' comp insurance for purposes of establishing an MOA with nonprofits. I have worked with the Sheriff's Office concerning documentation to be provided to attorneys for the estate of a detainee who died while in custody in December. I have worked with the Sheriff's Office concerning permitting for special events. I've worked with the county manager concerning the Hoff Development Agreement for the county park and in drafting a termination agreement for the development agreement now that the county commissioners, by their action here tonight, have terminated. I have worked with Animal Services concerning a threatened lawsuit over an animal investigation. I have previewed or reviewed changes to the county's technology appropriate use policy for text messaging. I've worked with county manager, the health department, and human resources concerning issues of employees working remotely. I've worked with HR concerning a name clearing hearing for a former county employee. I have reviewed the proposed memorandum of cooperative agreement with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission and the county. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd just like to thank you for the prayers and get well wishes for my mother's recent medical event. She's doing much better. Thank you. And I'd like to report that I've checked in on the district meeting registration, and we have 26 attendees thus far, but we are beating the doors and making phone calls. That's all I got.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Christine.
Gentlemen, we're actively evaluating applications for the HR director position and also working to develop a budget for submission to you at our next meeting, the recommended budget. We thank you, and we look forward to working through that process with you one more time.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Abley. Commissioner Taylor.
Couple of just information, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and first one, and I see Rhonda is here, I had to miss her farewell event, and I hated that. Also had to miss my agricultural steering committee meeting. I was sick and in either the doctor's office or emergency room for about 7.5 hours, so it's not been a good week for the last week. I also wanted to say that some of us, attended the Eichard Fire Department open house. Scott Molly was there at that event, and so was Margaret Pierce. Also, we attended the NCACC Funding Summit two-day event, March 28th and 29th. Also attended was Vice Chair Carswell, County Manager Brian Steen, Margaret Pierce, DSS Director, and also, where to lose it? Mr. Clean, right?
The health director was there,
Health director.
Danny Scalise, yes, sir.
Yeah. We were well attended for that event. It was a fast-moving event. Didn't have time to take a nap, so, but it was a good event. And finally, number 4, ribbon cutting at J.E. Econoris, and also attending there was Vice Chair and Commissioner Jeff Britton and Chairman Scott, and did I say Jeff Britton, and our attorney, J.R. Simpson. Again, we were well represented at that meeting, so that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Britton? Vice Chair Carswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say how much I appreciate your prayers and concerns for me. My report back on the cancer, as far as we know, is the initial report was negative, thank God. So we'll praise God for that one. Hope everything stays clear. Now, if I can just get rid of all the other ailments that I'm suffering through at this time, I cannot hear anything. If you noticed tonight, I needed one of those things that JR uses to hear with every once in a while. So hopefully I can get my health back to where it needs. All of my reports were included of those things that we did. And again, thank you, fellow commissioners, for attending in Greensboro for the opioid summit and the ARP presentation that everybody was really thrilled. Burke County was really noticed that we were there for that meeting. So again, thank you for doing that. And please remind all the other commissioners in about our district meeting that we're going to be the host for, and see if we get that attendance up a little bit better than what's been reported. But again, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carswell, and I'm glad everybody's doing better. I think, Jeff, we may need to go hide somewhere in a padded room. It's been some rough health issues here lately, but that being said, thank you, gentlemen. I will say upcoming events, April 20th, we have a recess meeting to discuss ARP money tomorrow at 2 p.m. April 28th, as Madam Clerk reported, we have 26 signed up so far, and we hopefully get some more of our fellow county commissioners and legislators there at the community house. That is for the NCACC district meeting that will be at 5:30 that evening. On May 3rd, we have a Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting at 3 p.m. May 6th, Morgan and Courthouse Square, it says 11 or 11:30 for tours. The ribbon cutting will be at 12:30, gentlemen, so hopefully we'll have a heavy attendance there as well. On May 17th, we will have our Board of Commissioners regular meeting, and on May 20th, we'll have our Board of Commissioners recess budget meeting at 2 p.m. Then on May 26th, Board of Commissioners recess budget meeting again at 2 p.m. So lots of meetings, gentlemen, and lots of events going on, so we've got a busy season coming up. That being said, Madam Clerk, we'll turn it over to you for vacancy announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and citizens. We have the following opportunities for citizens to be involved in county boards and committees: the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, Burke County Parks and Recreation Commission, City of Morganton Board of Adjustment and Planning Board for the ETJ, the Burke Senior Center Advisory Council, Child Protection and Child Fatality Prevention Team, East Burke Senior Center Advisory Board, Burke County Board of Adjustment, the Council on Aging, Burke County Board of Health, and Partners Consumer and Family Advisory Committee for a traumatic brain injury seat.
Madam Clerk, thank you, and I would encourage all those in the public that want to get involved. We have plenty of opportunities, as you can see, and Madam Clerk, we may need to move these announcements to the first of the meeting when everybody's here, before everybody speaks and leaves, because obviously they're advocates and are here to advocate on certain issues, so it might be an idea just to float.
I have made that suggestion before. I
So-
think that would be a good idea.
I think that just for note, let's look into that, please, Madam Clerk. We'll move on to item number 13. There is a need for closed session, gentlemen, so do we have a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-31.11A 3, 4, 5, and 6? Thank you, Commissioner Avely. All those in favor? We are going to closed session. Gentlemen, we did have a proper motion to come out of closed session. No action is needed at this time, so gentlemen, we will stand in recess until 2 p.m. tomorrow, April 20th. Do adjourn? Recess, so adjourned till March, okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor?